Welcome to CPG Vibes. No scripts,
just chat.
I'm Alex Baer.
And I'm Wade Yenny.
Each episode is recorded live, and we talk all things food and beverage, and so much more.
Feel our vibe and search for CPG Vibes on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and make sure to give us a 5-star review.
If you'd like to sponsor our show with your product or service, email us at cpgvibes100@gmail.com.
Now, let's vibe.
All right, welcome to episode 157 of CPG Vibes. Hope everyone is doing well out there after a crazy week last week, which is going to be the dovetailing of what we're going to talk about here today, which is the recap of Expo West 2025, and then also the current state of CPG based on what we noticed from the show last week and talking to a lot of people in the industry. But before that, I got to say, Wade, how you doing?
Doing good. Happy Friday. Happy post-Expo apocalypse, whatever. It sounds like your voice is a little bit like, did you come down with something at the show?
I think this mic is picking up just the nasaliness of my voice or something. But yeah, no, I've been on and off sick for the last couple weeks. So mostly right up here in the nose, just stuffed up, constantly having to clear my nose. I got this thing on Amazon that hopefully will clear my sinuses. Let's see how well that works, and I'll give them 5 stars if it does work. But yeah, I had a little cold, but this is just the residual effects of the cold.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if several people came out of the show with something, but it's when 80,000 people or whatever the number was come together, surprise, right?
Yep. Plus you're having food that's been, sitting out on the table. People are breathing on it, coughing on it, saliva coming out when they're talking. We don't want to think about that kind of stuff. So, and as you noticed, I'm on the road. I'm coming from an undisclosed location, as someone usually says.
That's right.
And I'm in Santa Barbara with my family, and we're just doing a 2-3 day little trip up here. I am doing some work up here, and then taking half day off today, right after the show, and then coming back on Sunday. So,
nice.
Yeah. Usually don't travel, but here we are.
Enjoy.
Definitely. Okay. Well, again, it was really good to see everyone last week. And we had our awesome CPG Vibes live show at the Melting Forest booth. And fresh off the presses, we will be back next year. Never too early to promote this kind of stuff, right? We'll be back. For those that will remember, we're promoting it a year in advance, but we'll let you know on LinkedIn as it gets closer, obviously. But we're coming back to Expo West live at the Melting Forest booth. And they are one booth over from where they were this year. So,
well, you never know. That could change, and New Hope could invite us as
that is true.
Yes. So we're Melting Forest is the plan, but hey, if they have us as media and invite us, you never know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the only thing that would unhinge us from Melting Forest is New Hope bringing us on the main stage somewhere, and if that happens, then so be it. So yeah, like you said, to be determined, right? Determined.
Hint.
Right? Yes. Come on, guys. I mean, we're promoting you on here.
That's right.
So get us on the main stage. So with all that said, let's go through some laundry list items here. And we have our premier sponsor for this episode, which is Powerful Energy Distribution. I'll go into a blurb about them just in a minute or so. Just going to get some other items out of the way that I'm sure everyone loves to hear about. We are #1 rated CPG podcast in the world. Make sure to keep us that way and give us 5 stars on Apple Podcast or Spotify. We have sponsorship and block rates. We're averaging 65, 70 people plus on the show live every single episode. So thank you to our community for tuning in, and it's getting bigger and bigger, which, I mean, we used to have, I think, 2 people on, Wade, back in 2021, and that was me and you tuning in, if that even counts to count us. But now we're up to at least 50 people per episode, and sometimes less, sometimes more. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And hopefully you're getting some kind of value from our babbling for an hour, mostly my babbling. And we have our backwall sponsors. We were remiss to not mention them, which is we have Dream Makers, which is Jeff Church's company. It's an accelerator program, and he coaches and consults CPG brands. And he's one of the original co-founders of Suja, built it to 100 million. They eventually sold to private equity, so he knows what he's doing. We have our backwall sponsor, Melting Forest. Make sure to check them out and buy them online. And then we have Feel Free, the Kava Kratom shot. And then, so going back to and we have our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@CPG Vibes. So going back to our guest of honor here. So Robert Kogan will be coming on around the 35 or 40 mark. Some exciting things to mention about Powerful Energy. And by the way, he's giving out a prize, which is going to be, just trying to read it here because something's blocking my screen, the Super Sample Box prize, valued well over $100. Tune in till the end of the episode. We're going to ask a trivia question. And if you get that correct, then you will win the PFE Canada Super Sample Box. So a little more about Powerful Energy Distribution and Robert Kogan. The Canadian company, Powerful Energy Distribution, is now officially registered to mirror the U.S. corporation for 100% corporate consistency on both sides of the border. PFE Canada and PFE USA. This is big news, Wade. I mean, it's two entities, or Robert will explain. I never know what's going on in Robert's head, so he will clarify what all this means. But from what we're understanding, there's now looks like 2 entities. There's a PFE Canada and a PFE USA, and they're sponsoring today's episode. Formerly a numbered company in Canada, the new corporate structure allows for even more of a seamless operation with a growing import-export volumes handled by PFE USA and PFE Canada. And Robert's team is proud to work with Melting Forest, Perfy Soda, 7 Teas, Sati Soda, New England Beverage. I think Robert has enough samples from these brands to last him for a lifetime here. Old Time Beverages, Sizzle Soda, Moosh Cotton Candy, Gelato Water, Lemonicious, North Water, and also working on a test market with a few others that will be announced, I'm sure, in future episodes of CPG Vibes. Today, we'll be focusing on Robert's teammates with PFE Canada. We'll be focusing on, sorry, Robert, it's hard to pronounce this, Acoidius, Richard Moniz, I probably pronounced that wrong, Richard Moniz, George May, and the Darwin Fulfillment Partnership, all key members of the PFE Canada team that handles all the many responsibilities to caretake a brand in Canada. And I mean, Robert is the man when bringing products from the US to Canada, knows what he's doing. And now it's even more of a seamless operation with this whole, and this is the biggest news so far this year on CPG Vibes, that he's in the US now. So there you go.
Oh, there you go. And not to take away from Robert, but did you? I was waiting for you. When we jumped on earlier, Gavin texted me earlier, and did you see the Poppy news that it sounds like it's getting really, really close to
Pepsi,
to a deal?
Pepsi.
Yeah.
So I read it on LinkedIn.
1.5 billion.
1.5 billion. Crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy.
not done yet. Not done, but it's coming. So.
Yeah, it's probably going to happen. And, you kind of wonder if that's happening, what's the future of Olipop, right? Is Olipop going to go to Coke now that?
That's exactly what I said. I said, does that mean Coke has to buy Olipop? So we'll see. So interesting. But
1.5 billion. And it's amazing where I remember meeting, the owners, the co-founders at a BevNet showdown when they were still Mothers. It was called Mothers, I believe, and it was an apple cider vinegar drink. That's really what they centered the branding around. And then they went on Shark Tank under Mothers. They got an investment from what's that private equity guy's name? I'm trying to remember his name. We'll look it up. But either way, he invested and with his company, and then from there they rebranded it as Poppy, and then they caught the whole wave of the prebiotic soda craze, and here we are today. So it's rare, which is where that goes into our current state of CPG conversation. So a lot of good segues in this episode. It's rare as hell to have an exit like this or potential exit, but it does happen. But the reality is that it's one out of maybe 10,000, one out of 50,000 brands. So there is a reality to this industry. Not to be pessimistic, but we'll talk about that on what we heard, what we saw at the show. A lot of exciting things with emerging brands growing, but also a lot of hard realities that a lot of brands are facing and a lot of challenges at the same time. So, Wade, let's talk about Expo West 2025. I'm going to turn it over to you because you got a lot more steps in. Your iWatch was showing a lot more steps than mine. You went to a lot more halls, a lot more booths, saw a lot more people than I did. I got out there, but not as much as you. So tell us, how was the show for you?
It was good. It was good. It was first and foremost, it was good to see so many people, both at the live podcast, some of the events, that I was able to participate in. Of course, we had some dinners and team events, and I did make an appearance at the Bitching Sauce after party thing with Third Eye Blind. That was really cool. The rain sucked. That wasn't fun. That part of it, because it was rainy virtually the entire time I was there until I was leaving on Friday and the sun peaked out. Overall, I think for me, it was interesting. I mean, if this is as hard as it is to believe, it's only my third expo, and the first year was full blown fresh market, and with that in mind. Second year, last year I was a free agent, so that was kind of my focus, and now this year, obviously representing V-Driven, completely different perspective as far as the show and what it was for me. And so I did get a ton of steps in. I think I was pretty much at 30 miles for the 3 days that I was there: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Wow.
And
like a marathon. You did a marathon.
Right. It just took me 3 days to do it. So, but in most of my time, unfortunately, I really didn't get to go up and down the hall. The halls. I was just going from point A to point B, from meeting to meeting. So I really didn't get to go around as much as I would have liked to and see things. But my perception, just in general, is first and foremost, it's a cluster. It always is. I think when we do our tips again next year, we have to include, if you're going to use your phone, step over to the side, go to the end of an aisle, go to the back of an aisle.
Yeah.
Don't just, because, I tease my wife about this sometimes. It's like, she's a speed walker. She walks really fast.
Right.
But
right.
if she's talking on her phone or if she's texting, it's like, rubbing your belly and scratching or patting your head, whatever that is, it's like not working together. Saw a lot of that going on. The other thing, just understanding that there's people that also want to walk at a different pace than you, right? And so, what I saw a lot of was like 3 and 4 people wide that were together and kind of moseying together. And meanwhile, there's like people trying to get around these large parties that are like this. Just, there was so much of that going on, and it was frustrating for me trying to get around. All that aside, I think 1,000,001 beverages, 1,000,001 waters. Lots of protein infused this, protein
proteinified,
infused that.
everything.
A lot of that. I saw honey quite a bit, different manuka, different formats of different things. Saw quite a bit of that. Generally speaking, the no pun intended, the vibes were good. Everybody, in spite of the rain, lots of positivity, lots of excitement. I said, just generally speaking, that's what I would say. How about what were your observations? What did you see?
Yeah, where to start? I went there on Wednesday. I was confidently thinking that I got there early, And boy, I was freaking wrong. I was fucking wrong. I'm gonna use the F word here. I like, rolled in around 8 a.m. The show floor opens at 10, right? Across all the different buildings. And I was coming across, on one of the back street that connects to Catella, on the back of the convention center, which is usually a good way to go, where the loading area is. You go through the back. And I'm like, oh, I'm here at 8 a.m. and I'm just going to stroll on in. It's going to be so easy and set up the booth, for CPG vibes and all that. And I was hit like, boom, like hit with traffic for a mile back from Catella. And, I was texting with Sean McDonald with Melting Forest where we had our show. And because he was waiting for us, right, to help us and load things in. I'm like, yeah, how I said I was going to be there at 8:30? I think it's going to be like 9:30. That's how bad it was.
Right.
And then when I run around the corner to the parking structure, on the other side of North Hall, and usually I just roll right in there, right? Like an hour before, hour and a half. Nope, not this time. So one thing I didn't really factor in is that all the buildings opened at the same time. North Hall, the main hall, the third story, the third level, the ACC, the startup CPG sections, all this stuff, same exact time, 10 a.m. Wednesday. And so I remember going around the corner on Catella, and then the guy, the traffic director is like, parking closed. It's full. It's full. I'm like, holy crap, like almost 2 hours before. So I had to go. I went to the Marriott, and luckily I was able to valet there. And Melting Forest helped us out with that since we're part of the team and part of the booth, and went in. So with all that said, I can ramble on for a long time about this. It was first really great to see everyone that came out to the CPG Vibe show, the live show. So thank you to, and also people that we've never met in person, right? Or maybe briefly, a couple of years ago or last year. But Derek Gould, I know we met him for the first time in person. Robert Kogan, we met him last year, and great to see him again. Kenny Hausman, we've seen him for a few years, so he came by. Gavin, I wasn't able to see. I know you saw him.
Yep,
you saw him.
Derek Curtis.
Yep.
Hank.
Hugh Curtis, was he there?
No, Curtis Knight.
So Curtis Knight, yeah. So Curtis Knight. So yeah, Derek Gould, Curtis Knight with Lemonicious. Never met him in person. He came by. Jim Clapp, I've never met in person. One of your buddies from back in the day in the grocery retail. He was incredible to meet in person. I mentioned Allison Clay already. I actually stuck around for about an hour and a half talking with Allison while I was breaking down. It made the cleanup process a lot faster. I was cleaning cords up and microphones and talking with her at the same time. And she's amazing, really, really cool person, CPG fangirl. A shout out. And who else are we missing here?
Hank Watt.
Hank, of course.
David Delcourt didn't get
by
on the show, but he was there. Rich from Rich's Nuts. He was there. Hopefully we didn't forget anybody, but if we did, apologies. What I was going to say is if you're listening and didn't weren't there for the show or didn't hear that part, you talked about Jim Clapp. If you're a brand, I would encourage you to go back and listen to and find his portion of that from the live show, because he's the COO, an old friend of mine. I worked with him for years on the supplier side, and then spent time with him at Rouse's together. And he's now with Clark's Markets out of Denver, or I'm sorry, out of Colorado. But he gave his email address, his cell phone number, and he is looking for brands for innovation and things like that. So if you're looking to get your foot in the door with a great retailer, I'd encourage you to go back and listen to that part of that show, because get in touch with Jim, and or if you're really lazy and don't want to do that, just email me and I'll get you the info, or direct message me. I'll get you the information to how to contact Jim. But yeah, great stuff. It was, but how about as far as booths and things like that? What, anything, I mentioned protein, I mentioned waters, I mentioned honey, anything else that from your side that you saw that I didn't already mention?
Yeah. And also Richard Moniz, if we didn't mention him, also he was on our show as well, the without his beard for the first time. So he didn't bring a significant other to the show. Bad joke. So as far as what what I saw. I was there all day Wednesday, half the time at the Melting Forest booth. And then I decided to come back on Friday and kind of scour around and see clients. I think everything that you said, I would just echo without being too superfluous with my words. A lot of protein. I did not see a lot of groundbreaking innovation.
Right.
Like I
Right.
didn't see anything that I was like, wow, that's amazing. And it blew my hair back, whatever hair that I have left and the no hair that you have. Right.
Right.
So I didn't see anything like that. I saw a lot of improvements on existing products. I saw some new product lines. I saw also in the North Hall wasn't as busy because a lot of people were shifting over to other areas like the main hall and the basement and all this stuff. And a lot of functional stuff, a lot of new sodas, which I don't actually like to see because I mean, the market is already dominated. We already have the big players and the smaller players that have been out for the last few years. And all these new brands are coming out with, sparkling prebiotic, probiotic sodas. It's just too much. They're coming out with line extensions, whether it's Nixie, whether it's Spindrift. And these are all great brands, but I
Liquid
think
Death.
they're Liquid Death. I think they're just late to the party. And no matter how much money they have or how much exposure, how much ACV and stores that they're in, it's just going to be very hard to break into that market, especially when they're well known for other product lines. Liquid Death is really known for water. You have Spindrift, which is known for their sparkling, flavored water, right, with real fruit juice in it, which recently sold, right, and got acquired. So I think it's hard to break into that market. And I'm like, just stop coming out with more because the other thing too is like if it's innovative and different and has ingredients that are disruptive, that's one thing. But when you see it and you turn to the back, it's just carbonated water, natural flavors, maybe a fruit juice in there, and prebiotic inulin. It's like, okay, you're already getting this from the 10 or 15 brands that have been on the market for the last 5 years. So I didn't like seeing kind of a lot of Me Too kind of stuff going on at the show. Besides that, the booth that I really enjoyed going to, which goes without saying, was right down the aisle from Melting Forest, which is Midday Squares.
Right.
What made their booth so interesting is number one. I'm laughing not because it's funny, but it's so like just bad timing that two of the three co-founders were out because of food
Right.
poisoning, E. coli.
Right. Yep.
So Nick Saltarelli and Liz Carls. And they got food poisoning looking for alternative cocoa sources since the cocoa prices are through the roof right now. And at the Midday Squares booth, they had a chart showing the price of cocoa going up. So, and it said a cocoa stole our booth or something like that. Like they paid so much for cocoa, they couldn't
Right.
afford to build a booth. And that
Yeah.
was hilarious, a great marketing play. And then I remember talking with Alex Trin, the chief
Sales.
revenue officer,
Yep.
chief sales officer, revenue officer. So they showed the chart of the cocoa prices going from like 200, I think, per ton to 12,000 per ton or something like that. And it was insane. And then they're like, yeah, we can't afford a booth. So I think that played off well. Jay Carl's mom was there because they needed extra people since they're missing the two co-founders. This is the woman that wrote all those letters,
All
like
the
millions
handwritten.
of handwritten letters to people that bought Midday Squares online. So overall, I thought that was great, but I spent most of my time in the basement. North Hall, I don't know what you thought, but I thought it was emptier than previous years. And there were a lot
Yeah.
of spaces that were open that were missing, like the
Yeah.
booth, like, the
There.
one, and then Mela. Do you see Mela's booth?
I don't think I saw Mellows. What I was going to say is there's
Go
an
ahead.
interesting post, and I don't know, Allison. I think I might have saw it from you, or you reposted or something, with regards to empty booths, and there was a comment from someone with regards to, they were trying. New Hope reached out to them, tried to get them to fill that spot. And they tried to. It was late in the game, right? Because they had these empty spots they were trying to get filled up, and they tried to negotiate a discount, and New Hope wouldn't budge. And they're like, "Oh, we have 100 brands or something that are fighting for these spots." And then they showed in the post there was pictures of of the empty booths because they didn't fill them. So it was
Right.
kind of interesting. But I think for what you're saying, the traffic in the North Hall versus I think anybody that wasn't in the North Hall, they just left the North Hall and were in the basement because the basement was complete chaos
Yeah.
every time I was over there. Every time. And I don't remember being that crazy. The only crazy in years past, the shows that I've attended, what I remember previously was the LA Libations when they would have like some of their celebrities come through. Then there was always a lot of congestion for that. But I don't remember the basement being the absolute traffic mess that it was this year. And I obviously you've been here, you've been there many more times than I have. What was your opinion? Was the basement busier, or was it just me?
The basement seems to, here's my take on it. When I first started going to Expo West back in 2014, 15, 16, 17, like up until the pandemic, um, the basement was just slammed. It was
Mhm.
always so full, you could barely move, elbow to elbow. And then right around, 19, and then 22, 23, the basement was not as busy, and then 24. But this year, because it all opened at the same time, and I think a lot of these strategic booths were in the basement now, like these emerging brands are coming back to the basement instead of just always going to North Hall. The basement was a lot busier this year, and North Hall was a lot more open. I mean, I remember going down the aisles, right? And you remember
Right.
this too, of North Hall,
Right.
and it was easy, wide open, plenty of space, not crowded. And I don't know if it was because of the brands that are there. I don't know if it's because there was missing booths there. In the basement, every booth was taken. There
Yeah.
wasn't one open booth. And I cite also going back to the basement fell jammed. Yeah, Richard Moniz. So Mela, I don't know if you know heard of what they did. They bought the booth. They, I think, either didn't want it or they're trying to back out of it because logistically they couldn't make it happen. And I don't think they were able to get their money back. That's my assumption. These
Mhm.
are all just kind of heard it through the grapevine type stuff. And so they put their cutouts of all the team members at the booth,
Hmm.
like
Interesting.
Dom and like the director of sales and like there's like 6 people in a cutout. I'll text you the picture after the show, and it just says like, and it has like I think a Mela logo thing on the side, and no cans. They're not giving away anything,
Right.
but I think they did the math and said like, to fly out there, give out product, give out swag, the cost of that, plus they have other things going on in expansion. It wasn't worth it for them to go to the show. So hopefully, I mean, after we're talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly, hopefully we get invited to do the show at New Hope.
Yeah,
I'm
well, I mean, it's not anything that has been posted, and I mean, I
not
think,
bad stuff.
I
It's
think
reality.
at the end
Yeah.
of the day, that's we're on the segue thing today because what I was
Yeah.
going to say is so, and I'd encourage the audience that that there's a lot of chat going on right now. I'd
Yep.
love to hear. I know what Alex is going to say, but I'm going to ask it anyways. But I'd love to hear what those listening or those in the chat right now think with what I'm going to ask here, and that is, how do you improve it? And as far as the things that we're quoting, whether it's the bad, the ugly, how do you improve it? And I know what I think you're going to say, Alex, is obviously is from a price standpoint, but here's what I'm going to say. If prices are lower, and we know what the crowd is like to begin with, how do you control traffic? How do you do that? And so I
You mean
think
like
it's a
car traffic or people traffic?
Yes, all the above, all the above. Because I mean, I don't know. You drove your own car. I can tell you, like, getting an Uber out of the hotels after, you know what I mean. Everything. It's just a complete. It's just chaos. And so, how do you manage the amount of people that attend, and make it a better experience across the board? Is it adding more days? Which I'm not suggesting that by any means. I mean, what do you do to improve the show?
Yeah. I mean, I would go back to their other format, to their original format of having one of the buildings open the day before, like
Yeah.
I thought that was great. It was great because people that didn't want to deal with all the traffic, but they still want to see a bunch of emerging brands and they don't want to go through the stress. So I think opening that North Hall the day before was a great move, I feel. And like that was one of the things I loved is it was easy to get in. You have your meetings. And then if you want to come back the next day and go through hell where everything's opened, you can do that. But I would say, if you think about it logistically, if if North Hall opens a day early and everyone hits the North Hall on that day, and those same people come back the next day, they're going to go to the basement. And then the
Right.
people that come in on the second day, they're not all going to be at the basement. They're going to go to North Hall first. And then, so I think it would split the crowd a little better. And that's why, like I've noticed in previous years, the basement was less busy. The North Hall was busy, but it was still manageable. And we have to keep in mind that the basement is a lot older than the North Hall. The North Hall was built, I think, in 2018 or
Right.
2019. So it was built to handle more traffic and wider aisles and 2 floors, and it's just more friendly for meeting and being more relaxed. And so that would be my recommendation. But I don't know, as far as cars, that's a complete shit show. There's
Yeah.
nothing you can do there.
It's California.
It's California. I would say this. So this is my. That's funny. My.
You set her off.
I guess I said Siri or something, and she thought I didn't even say Siri, and she was still talking to me. So what I would say, not Siri, but say, is that when you're going to the show, if you're using your own car, forget the parking structure, go on Harbor. Go on Harbor off, I think the either the 91 or the 5. Go on Harbor, and there's Orangewood and like a bunch of these streets leading up to the back of the convention center that are about a half a mile away. There's no restrictions. There's no parking, permit required. There's no ticketing there. Park your car there and go in, and walk in, I should say, about half a mile. The other thing I will say as a tip is that if you need to drop off something, go to the North Hall side. You know where I'm talking about, on Catella.
Yep.
And there's like these loading zones. And instead of trying to park, wheel all your shit in, just have a couple cars pull into that loading zone, which is always open. There's like double park people there. It's always open there. And just get, something to wheel it, get someone to meet you there, get the stuff from the car, bring it into the show. So anyway, that's just smart life tips on Expo West. But what do you think? What do you think?
No, I agree, and I was just going to throw up some comments here that we have, in the hall. Sean McDonald from Melting Forest segment section, so buyers aren't jumping around various halls. Last minute, they added a functional beverage section upstairs in Hall D. Allison says, "Don't oversell the show." Kenny thinks lowering the price or creating an avenue for emerging brands to attend, like a first-time fee or something along those lines. I like that a lot, actually. Like a first-time discount, like we do for our sponsors. Cheap plug, CPG Vibes 100 at gmail.com.
Yep.
Kenny said buyers only hours on Thursday and Friday was a good idea, but when I walked, a lot of the booths were not manned. Andrew says add regional conferences, and that might be something to think about when you think about what used to be the 2 big shows, East and West. Maybe there's an opportunity there. There's I like this comment from Kenny. It's disappointing. New Hope probably needs to step in, provide more opportunities for buyers and brands to connect. They're not necessarily meetings, as the last thing a buyer wants to do is be stuck in a meeting all day. And I think that the rain, obviously, with the food truck area, where the outside area, they usually have the bands and things going on like that. That was nothing, because typically you can go out there, and I always took advantage of that area to kind of relax, kind of walk outside a little bit, get out of the convention center. With the rain, that just wasn't a thing. And so I think sometimes that does happen in that area, or at least, so maybe some of that traffic was because everybody was inside as opposed to people being outside.
The rain. Yeah.
Right. But
who knows? And I mean, this was the first year that they did things different. It was the first year, at least for a long time, since 2018, I think, or 19, 6 years, that they opened everything at the same time. So, but I do agree, I think, with, having these maybe set up rooms, maybe they already have them. I don't know, because I don't usually use these rooms for set meetings,
Right.
versus like trying to meet people at the booth. It could be like the buyer brand meeting rooms, and you can book it like through an app. So if like a buyer's at your booth, they're like, hey, let's meet on Thursday. What time is open for you? 2:00. Let's meet there. A lot of people also just use the Hilton to meet. Like I would just camp out there
Right.
for people that couldn't afford the badges. Hint, hint to New Hope, 4,500, 3,500, early bird 4,500, still expensive either way. You can just go to Hilton and meet in the lobby. And I do hope that it's not enforced there at some point, because my fear is they would enforce that because it's in the convention center, right?
Right.
But besides that, the one thing that was improved, I will say, is getting your badge.
Yeah.
That was easy. Like,
Where did you get yours at? I came straight in, and I think I went downstairs in the Hilton and got mine, and I went right up. That was very simple. But I got in after 4:00, close to 5:00 on Tuesday, and just walked right up without any issues. How about you?
yeah, Marriott. So I went to the, when I valeted at the Marriott. Thank you to Melting Forest. And Marriott's great staff. They had trouble with my Tesla. They couldn't move it because my key card wasn't working. It was pretty funny. They had to call me when I was in the show and had me unlock the car from my app.
Nice.
Right.
Nice.
You have a Tesla, so how it all works. You can
Yep.
unlock it and start the car, put it in valet mode, and then when they park it, they call me back and I locked it from the app.
Nice.
But I went to the Marriott, just to the main lobby, down the hall, and it was a 1-minute wait, and I got my badge. And it was so simple. QR code, scan. So out of all the things that were kind of troublesome, and the traffic, kind of the rain, hell, you can't be outside and everyone's inside and it's trafficy. The badge pickup was very, very easy. What else was a positive? I'm thinking, I will say, to echo what you said before I move to the next subject, that the vibes were really good, pun intended, right? That people were feeling good. They're feeling optimistic despite some of the challenges. And I noticed a lot of brand owners, when talking with them, were like, we know it's expensive here, right? We're here, for a reason, to get a deal done or to get feedback, but we are focusing heavily on profitability. We're focusing on margin. We're not taking every opportunity that comes across our booth. We're looking at food service opportunities and other alternate revenue channels. So I noticed that founders were more kind of tuned in to what it takes to have a sustainable brand, which seemed really respectable. Did you see the Simple Mills booth? Just kind of a last question before we move on to another subject.
No, I think the actual booth. No, I got some of their samples in from the hallway, but I did not see the actual booth.
It was enormous. It was 4 booths in one.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't get to meet the owner, who I know they sold, right. I think 4 months ago, in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Was it?
Right.
Oh, yeah, it was hundreds of millions. And but they were giving away everything under the sun. Nicest people, best tote bag. They had the best tote bag in the entire place. So I
Is
got
that
a
right?
couple of those. Yeah, just well made, and that that really durable cloth you can use for family vacations. And I mean, they have all the money in the world, so they can afford these totes.
It's interesting you say that, because I just looked it up real quick to refresh my memory. It was Flowers Foods that bought Simple Mills for
Flowers Foods,
240 million. But to me, I'm scratching my head, and when I think of Simple Mills, I think of them as a much larger brand relative to when we talk about Poppy at 1.5 billion, and Simple Mills is quote unquote only 240 that they were purchased. I mean, that's
I can
doing quick
address
math.
that if you want.
Quick math. That's six times the Poppy is. Crazy. Yeah. Address it, please.
Yeah, I mean, these are just, again, assumptions and anecdotal at best. But Poppy is in a growing hot category, and in less years they've grown faster. Simple Mills is more of a legacy brand that's been around for at least about 10 years, 11 or maybe even 12 years at this point. And so they were slower growth. And I think the people buying them, Flower Foods, calculated how much more are they going to grow. They have a model. I'm sure they work off of when they do acquisitions, which are so complicated that we can't even say it on the show, and I don't even know a lot about it. But they probably said, based on the growth trajectory, based on the category, here's the valuation. It spits out the valuation that they should be paying for the brand. Poppy, on the other hand, is on a faster growth trajectory. And even though they probably have slowed down because of other competition, and they're also in a hotter category. So that's my
Yeah,
take.
makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I had to put this up here because there was some conversation about the booths and selling. And there's been so many comments. I love what I'm seeing in the chats. Is the interaction is
Jeez.
fantastic. But
Yeah.
Sean said downstairs sold out for 2026 by the end of the first day. It's incredible, just incredible to think
That's
about.
insane.
So
And that's the let's see, and that's sold downstairs. So the
basement, yeah,
basement sold out. That seems to be, it's kind of the pendulum swung back to the
yeah,
basement, right?
yeah,
This year.
definitely.
Are you going to Newtopia now?
TBD. I know we'll have presence there. Whether it's a full team, like we do for Expo, I'm not sure.
Because we got invited to do a show
Yeah.
there. Just
We
letting you
did.
know.
We did.
Not by Newtopia,
Oh,
by a brand. So
okay. Okay. Yeah, you'll have to fill me in on that one.
yep,
Yeah,
yeah. It's on
for
No
sure.
Script, Just Chat. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the first time Wade's hearing about it
Mm.
live. I'd like to drop. Yeah,
I would like to. I would like to. It's just
yeah.
like with anything else. I mean,
I've never been there. Yeah,
whether you're a service provider or whether you're a brand or a retailer, at the end of the day, you have to justify your attendance as far as does it make sense. The time away. Is it productive? Time well spent is whether when you think about the plane and you think about the cost of entry and you think about the hotel and all the entertainment dinners, all that stuff associated with it, is it worth the expense? And we talked somewhat extensively about a Newtopia last year, and mixed bag, right? I think there's a lot of people hesitant to go, just kind of waiting to see what the feedback was coming out of it. And it was my memory is, correct me if I'm wrong, that it was relatively positive as a whole. It was not as crazy, and I think the general feedback was positive. I don't have a temperature feel for what this year's show is going to be like as far as Newtopia goes. I mean, are people
yeah.
excited about it? I mean, it's probably right now, a week out of Expo, it's probably hard to be excited about it because of the Expo exhaustion. But
Yeah.
I'm curious, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it in shows to come as far as what that looks like and how people are feeling. So
Definitely, definitely. I think, I'm going to go because I think last year I just wanted to see how it was and what the feedback was, because I was like, is Newtopia now like a rebound from Expo East,
mhm.
going away? And are they, is it just a strategy to try to monetize this twice a year and is there going to be value? And from what I heard, there was value and it was actually a good show, less busy, a little more intimate. You can have more conversations, but still a lot of buyers are going. Kenny Hausman, fresh
Yep.
time. He's going to be going here in the comments. So, yeah, I think every 6 months for me is okay to do a trade show. I'm no longer going to do the two fancy foods, KE,
Right.
Unify plus Expo West and, and Newtopia, all that combined. But a couple shows a year, that's fine with me. I know V Driven being more aggressive and looking, to serve the clients, see the clients in person, and also find new clients. You're going to more shows. But I like Newtopia and I like the concept of it. The other thing I will mention, and we're going to bring Robert on, he's been waiting very, very patiently here. So sorry, Robert's a couple of minutes behind, is Allison Clay there's a new show that she's working on. Did she
Mhm.
tell you about this?
Yes, I did. I talked to her at Expo, and I actually talked to her this week about that. So we're still looking into, and fact finding and doing sorts of things. But exciting what she's working on with the folks she's working on is the Retail Rebel Revolution. So
Yep. Triple
yeah,
R. So that's going to be a show that is centered specifically around orders and building your business, getting POs and getting right to the point.
it's a selling show.
It's a selling show. Yeah, that's the way to put it. And versus, because I do feel that where Expo West can become a little difficult for brands from a cost standpoint is the cost of all the samples. And there's so many people there that are just there to get samples. And by the
Mhm.
way, okay, last thing I promised, we're bringing on Robert. So he's going to get more time because we're late. Every minute we're late, he gets a minute added to his allotted time. So it's better
It's
for
like a
him.
jail sentence.
Yeah, it's a jail.
I don't know if
It's
that's I don't know if that's a jail sentence for Robert or for us. I'm not sure, but no, I'm just teasing.
probably for both of us. So
Yeah,
CPG jail vibes, right?
that's right.
Natural food served at every jail cell. So what was the top product that you tasted? I'm going to quickly say it. Lemonicious. That was mine.
I'll say Lemonicious as well, because
Wow, two
I'm
for
not,
two.
what I'm honestly, I really did not have a chance to sample much. I mean, I did. You know what? I will say there's one more. I'll
Okay.
if I have to say something different, there was a freeze dried soup in the arena, which hardly
Freeze
anybody
dried.
goes to,
Okay.
and yeah, just add water. And it's called Long Weekend, and they had I think a carrot ginger. I had minestrone. I had a tomato, and I can't think what the fourth one was, but fantastic product. Nice ingredients, clean ingredients, good stuff. So but honestly, I really when I would go to a booth, I would try something, but yeah, it was hard. But
Yeah.
Lemonicious, Long Weekend. So all right, we gotta get
Lemonicious
Robert on
for
here.
sure. And Perfy Cherry Cola was another one. Vasa Martinez, I posted about him. I really love that product too. All right. All right. So here we go. We have our sponsor for this episode coming on a little later than usual, but better late than never. We have Mr. Robert Cogan, the King of Canada. How you doing?
I thought he was the prince.
Prince. Who's
Easy,
the king
Dad.
then? Who's the king then? Who's the king?
Easy.
Mhm.
Anyway, I'm going to take
Inflating your ego.
your prison warden type of thing. Am I like a prisoner in the yard, or am I like?
Well, no, I didn't know if it was a jail sentence for us or our listeners or who, but I just, I had to throw the reference out there. But
Well, just like when you're swinging the bat, the third or fourth at bat, you're a lot more confident than you were in the first, especially if you haven't seen the pitcher. So this being what, the 8th time that I'm showing up. Yeah.
wow, he's counting. You get an official CPG nothing for that one, because Saturday Night Live has the jackets, and the Masters has jackets. We don't have anything.
I don't need that. I don't need that. I got my hat.
We need to figure it out. We need to figure that out.
There, I got the
Melting Forest.
There you go. There you
okay,
go.
so I'm all good. But like, there's so many things that you guys already talked about. We could talk about for 10 minutes, and then I'll look at my list and go, oops. But I do want to throw out one very important news flash about Expo. Last year, surrendering to the hurricane, I just literally wandered into like Hall C, all these ingredients. I thought, yeah, let me lawnmower it up. I go to the right, I get 4 booths up, an hour, couldn't move. And that's an interesting thing that I want anyone to spread the word. It's the Palm Wonderful Ingredient Division. And his name is Brad Buchholz, Buchholz. And I put Nick and Jake in touch with them, because what they offer is a alternative to cocoa. And
go more into that. Like, what is the ingredient? What is it called?
It's actually dehydrated pomegranate rind. And
interesting. Okay.
And what caught my attention, because about 14 years ago, another story that will take too long and I won't get to all my stuff, is what got me into the food business was a friend from the Niagara region who was an ice wine lifer, meaning like he worked in the wine business in every category. Ice wine is like the Champagne, Modena, Balsamic of Canada in the Niagara region. And I learned about all that. Dehydrated grape pulp called pomace was actually treating medical issues at Brock University. That's what actually got me to say, okay, Steve, let's go and work on your ice syrup product. It's like 14 years ago. So when I walked up to Brad's booth, he had the same powders, the same stuff that I learned about 15 years ago. So the dehydrated pomegranate is a binder. So he had samples of a brownie and then samples of a brownie using the pomegranate binder. I loved the little labels he had right out of the lab. And I cut my teeth a little at the Guelph Food Technology Center in the ice syrup days, where we were using all of their equipment, pasteurizing, doing everything by the book. So I was blown away. And I think it deserves mention, because it's a cocoa alternative. And the cool thing about Brad is, I wish I had the money to play the market. He predicted this 10 million% rise last year at Expo. For the record, Brad Buchholz of Palm Ingredient Division. So you guys, anybody who needs a cocoa alternative, look up Brad. It's important enough for me to take 10-15% of my time today.
Nice. I have a question on one ingredient, and we'll get into what you're up to at PFE. How about carob? Like, what's up with carob? Carob has that kind of chocolatey taste. How come why are more brands not using carob?
No clue. To me, even cacao cocoa is, I don't even understand the whole thing, 70%, 90%. And anytime that I mean, ironically, through taking care of customers with La Perry, I'm bringing in Girardelli's and all sorts of chocolate bars and all that fancy stuff with 90%, 20%. I don't even know what that means. I just want my milk chocolate. You see, here's my chocolate milk. It's a fixture everywhere I go. And so I don't know anything about caramel, but I do know it's a mystery. And as a chocolate freak, it's like, what? Doesn't matter. Just give me my chocolate.
Right.
Totally.
Well, tell us about, when we have like 6-7 minutes here, we're going to give out this prize, this generous prize. PFE USA, PFE Canada. What are you up to? What does this mean? How does it benefit your clients?
When your company is 2241904 Ontario Limited and you just run by the seat of your pants, you end up going to trade shows and seeing that on your badge. So it's a branding thing. Took about a year of like, let's get it done with my boss partner, Bruce. And finally, over the past month, we got Powerful Energy Canada Incorporated to go beside Powerful Energy USA. So it just makes things a little, consistent. And to get that email from the law firm with the little picture I posted, it just feels good while I'm running around trying to deal with trucks and trying to deal with 20 emails that I got to respond to, but I only have time to do 5 or 10. But that's really what PFE Canada is all about. And what I gave you for the intro is something I want to focus on, that we're going to get a chance to focus on late April when we do the Canada show, is the team, because it's important for people to know that, like a baseball team, sometimes I'm at shortstop moving everyone around and keeping my eyes on everything. Sometimes I'm sitting on the bench like this, just thinking, George, what should we do with this left fielder? Now, George Maya, he is, the last mile expression, port to warehouse. Yeah, George is the last 50 yards, because I bring it up to Canada. I get into Independence. We get it into Eco Ideas. That's how you pronounce that, Alex. Eco Ideas. They're a natural health wellness distributor. And I got a couple things to rapid fire about that one too. But George Maya, Richard Moniz, I can give opinions on packaging. Richard is basically the eye science man on every brand that we bring in, and comes with the PFE package. Then we have Darwin Fulfillment. Now, what Reza has been doing for the last few years is building towards a fulfillment option for independents, or for small brands, startup brands, and big brands, with like 8 warehouses across Canada. And what's really interesting is it's a little difficult and awkward to approach, but if he's fully successful, brokers and DSDs are going to have a hard time justifying their situation, because he sets up a marketplace. They've got a delivery service. They're like a turnkey. You're in Amazon, and it's D2C and B2B. So take it, for example, Sizzle Soda. Sizzle Soda we bring in. Gil sends up the free pallet. I'm not paying for pallets anymore, as I keep telling people, because I paid for a lot. And we send it around, and we get a reorder for a pallet. So if a distributor isn't ready to get on, because back to all the sodas and every product out there, there's only so much shelf space. You need a friend. You need a break to get into shelf space within 6 to 12 months. Every spot you get, someone has to be moved out, that whole thing. So what Darwin does is it gives these retail chains an opportunity to go to their marketplace. And with these beverage brands all coming in, and you know what? Because there's no time to talk, I just want to do a little demo. The super box? Example box? This is an example of what's going on with the box.
Okay? Nice. 7 C's.
Yeah. And then we got this.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
Is the light okay there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Tropical citrus perfect.
Yeah. Vasa freaked me out with his cherry cola. And with all due respect, I'm like a baseball manager, right? It's a 9.5. And quite frankly, Olipop's cherry cola is pushing 5. No offense, Scott. And the poppy cherry cola, I'd say 6.5.
Yeah. I think, when you go to like the formulation side of it, and I did a post on Vasa, who's just a dear friend of mine beyond.
He's a great guy.
Anything in business, just a wonderful, down-to-earth person. And was able to get to his booth on Friday afternoon, a couple hours before the show closed. He gave me the pepperoni pizza, one, and that one. Awesome. And, it wasn't something where I can drink the whole can. There's no way. It was just like, it's very, like, it's this acquired taste. But for what he was going for, where it
Spot
has
on.
that taste
Spot
profile.
on.
It has the tomato sauce, really good. The cherry cola, I agree with you, Robert. It's right up there. Like it is superior to the other, healthy soda colas that are on the market. It's really damn good. I can.
And let me segue. We got a bit of a 3-minute warning here, so I just want to
Yes.
be a little irritating with the fire hose of information.
Sure.
Black cherry melting forest, become like the soda. I can't overdo it. I'm already onto the 5-hour energy problem. So Sean and the team over there, they got 8 SKUs, and there's not one of them that I'm like, whatever. So I really have mental issues when I'm going to my personal stash of melting forest.
Don't get high on your own supply.
Exactly. This one,
Cool.
quick mention: North Water, Canadian.
Okay.
A couple of young ladies from out west, and another buddy who's working with me to get this organically into people's hands, and
Nice.
the reaction is pretty good. Gelato water. Dave Martin does help.
Bunch of people were talking about that one at the show.
Yeah.
That was a big hit.
Yeah, and gelato water. It's interesting having a cold metal in your hand. It makes the water taste a little better. Anyway, one thing I want to announce, which is massive: Melting Forest. Dave and Emma and myself, what we did over the last week was we did the final I's and T's to get the Melting Forest booth locked down at the CHFA West show in Vancouver,
Nice.
late April. And I'm gonna step in front of Dave and Sean and announce that little accomplishment. And I can't tell you how excited I am to actually get the booth. There's been some stories in the past of going down this road, which we're not going to mention.
Got it. I got to mention one thing, Robert, too, because I know we're running low on time. Is for the CHFA show. I'm just putting this out there because no script, just chat. If you can somehow talk to the higher ups there and get them to bring us in to have our debut Canada show live at this show, that'd be fucking awesome. We're going to rely on you because we have no contacts up there beyond you.
Okay,
maybe Luke Abbott might know someone from Be Driven up there, but please fight for us, because if we can get it comped,
Alex,
Mean Wade's favorite words are comped.
I'll do better.
Okay.
Aaron Skelton.
Okay.
I'll shout out to Aaron right now. Don't know if he's watching, but I have a feeling he might get a little forward from some eyeballs and ears.
So I, as much as I would like to go to that, I actually would not be able to go because I will be leaving. That show is the 26th and 27th. I just looked it up. It looks
April?
like
Is that April?
And I fly out. I fly taking a little trip with my wife.
Well, did you see Kenny's comment down there that I'm like the quasi Canadian?
I did not see that. I would love to go though. Maybe it's penciled in for 2026. 2026.
There you go.
If you can't go, you'll be remote.
There. I don't think my wife would like that. I don't think my wife would allow that. That based on where what we have
just
planned.
Text. Just text.
Yeah, and I think I just
like you handle it.
For sure. And I'm actually, I need to get back to you as well, because I was thinking it was mid-April. I know in late April, at some point, I'm at the coffee specialty show in Houston with my wife.
So happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, happy wife. They come first, but we'll see if we can make it. If not, next year. Right?
I got on my notepad here a word I made up: tariff apocalypse, and then I'm looking at what's going on with soda. Same thing, soda apocalypse. From like when I was 25, I went to the Premium Incentive Show at Javits Hall in New York, and got freaked out about that whole business. There's a show every minute, guys. There's a show next week, this week, that. It's all over the place. But let me just cover the rest of the items here.
Quickly, we have about a minute.
Yeah,
go ahead.
This is actually pretty dramatic. Tariff apocalypse. Wow. I can't imagine what people are going through, and I can because I've heard a lot of stories. I'm taking I don't give a shit attitude, because with all proper respect or no respect, it's a crazy grandpa situation with no regard for what the business ripple effects are, and everything is upside down. So I just want to make sure everyone knows, chill out. The USMC, it's still happening after all of the mouthing off between our two countries. But I do want to report that I got some word from some good friends, distributors, UNFI Canada, Tree of Life KeHE. 25% has been added on already. I'm being asked to bring in truckloads of brands that UNFI carries with their Canadian packaging, so they don't have to pay that 25% extra. Hard to believe the 25% has already infected broadline pricing. Wow. Crazy grandpa and ex-football player in Ontario are arguing and throwing water balloons over the fence.
I will make one comment on it, then we got to move on, is that a lot of brands are doing this because they have to pay the government, right? The 25%. That's how this all works with the tariffs, right? When they send it to a country charging tariffs, right? Like to the US and or vice versa. And so they are just tacking it on in preparation. And I think also some companies, not saying the ones that you're working with, but others are putting it on as a way of making more money until the tariffs are actually in force. It's almost a strategy.
It's crazy.
And so they're taking advantage of the news and tacking it on even before they're paying it. So it's very, very, it's like forward charging instead of forward buying. So let's go to our prize here. So this is the mega, I'm going to call it, just put my own coin term on it, the mega Kogan sample box for the winner.
Something, yeah.
Yeah. And so we're going to ask a question here. I know we're over time, according to my Siri, who's been yelling at me the entire show. And so let's get that question. Wade, do you have one in the on the docket here?
Let's see.
Actually, yeah, I got one.
Go ahead.
Have one?
Nope. Go ahead. If you got it, go.
Okay.
Go.
Yeah. I always do that. I'm like, Wade, do you have one? Because
I can come up with one. I can come up with one, but go ahead.
I'm gonna give this week to you because I usually.
All right. I'm gonna make it easy because we're over time. It should be if someone's been listening. How many expos have I been to?
Ooh, that's a good
How
one.
many expos have I been to? That's the question. Was yours harder than that? Was yours harder than that?
And then when's the next Canadian one you're going to go to? That's the next mystery question.
Not in April.
2026.
That's right.
No, later this year in Toronto, September in Toronto.
There you go. I think Robert's going to get us in there no matter what. If it's not April, it's September.
All right. How many expos? Allison got it. Boom.
Allison. And she's honestly, I wanted her to win because just seeing her again in person, wonderful.
Oh, wait. Now, should we let her win because she just said wait for? So that's almost like, we'll take her first answer.
We'll take it.
We're going to be nice, Allison.
Yeah.
Your final, I should have said, is that your final answer?
I think she was trying to complete a sentence, wait for something else. She just didn't complete her sentence. So let's pretend we didn't see that. 3 is the answer. Allison, you got it. You almost screwed it up, but we're not going to let you screw it up. Dan
Barnes. Hey, Dan, good to see you. Was a close second.
Yeah. So Dan almost just by a nose. Allison got it. So email cpgvibes100@gmail.com. We'll connect you with King Canuck here and get you the prize. So, Robert, thank you for sponsoring our show as always. Thanks for gracing us with your presence on here. I didn't think it was much of a jail sentence, Wade, for either of us.
It was relatively painless. It was a
minimum security.
It was a private cell. It was a
minimum
private
security.
Cell. Yeah, private cell. I got to exercise in the yard a little bit. It wasn't too bad.
Bench press somewhere,
It's little ball.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. So some hockey. So let's we're going to conclude the show. We'll see you next week.
What do we have going on next week?
This is the thing. This is the no script, just chat. Thing going on because we have a show next week. I was hoping you wouldn't ask, but we have a show next week, which is the expert series, brands, brokers, buyers. But there's been some scheduling conflicts where we have one confirmed and we're waiting on one more. So if we don't get that, it will be our normal episode. But if we get that second person and it's a good fit, we're going to proceed with Expert Series Volume 10. That it doesn't get more no script, just chat than that, right, Wade?
That's right. I love it.
Planning as we go from the seat of our pants here. So
in Canada show April 21st, I believe.
It's April 21st. Okay.
I think that's when the Canada show is, right before the CHFA West.
Yeah. Wait. So we have the CHFA. Oh yeah, our Canadian show. Yeah, the one on CPG Vibes. Yeah. Right. Okay. Gotcha. Yep. So that's coming up as well, and we're gonna have yours truly on, right, to talk about. And do we have some Canadian brands also coming on?
I got some tricks up my sleeve. Aaron Skelton is the president of CHFA. I'm going to do my best to lobby him to be on the show.
Love it.
Awesome. Awesome. I think it's going to be a Kogan takeover show. So whoever he brings on from Canada,
We may not have to show up.
we don't have to show up. Yeah, take an early day off. All right. So thank you, everyone. Robert, thanks again. PFE, Powerful Energy Distribution, our sponsor, and we'll see you next week, Friday, 12 o'clock, 3
Thanks,
o'clock
guys.
Eastern. Take care, everyone.